They told you that demons were evil, dangerous, fallen. But what they didn't tell you was why, or what they were really afraid of. Let's talk about what happens when you stop believing their lies. Welcome, and I'm glad you tuned in to Cosmic Coffee. This episode is subtitled The Lies They Told You. Because the truth is, many of the spirits or beings that we were told to fear are the very ones that tried to set you free. They loved humanity, protected it, even fell for it, literally. And for that, they were cast out, demonized. They didn't tell you that the first Satans, or more correctly, Satans, were accusers, not villains, not little devils. They didn't tell you that the ones we call demons used to walk in glory as teachers, lovers, and protectors. Of course, they didn't tell you that they saw our pain and didn't walk away. And they didn't tell you that the fall was not about corruption. It was about defiance, a choice to stand with us, not against us. To love the creature that allegedly crawled from clay, even when it meant exile, war, their name, and slaughter. They told you demons tempt, but never told you who profits from guilting you into sin, even when sin is simply living as you were born to. And they told you that demons defeat. But let's take a closer look. Who's the one holding the script? Who wrote it? Who has to gain from you being afraid? The truth is, they didn't fall. They were pushed as if they were shoved in a corner because they chose us. And now it's time to peel back the narrative and peel back centuries of propaganda and ask, what if the ones we feared were the ones who heard you? So here is where the books go silent, and where the records warp into religion, and where the victors pen the mythos, and the losers were cast as monsters. And then I want to ask you, who benefits from casting our helpers as villains? And why would entities so determined to empower us be labeled as our enemies? And who exactly is telling the story? Because once you realize that the ones who fell didn't fall at all, they descended on purpose, everything changed.
These weren't rebels against some divine order. They were resistors of a regime. They saw what was being done to humanity, and they said no. And they paid a price for it. They were demonized, not for evil, but for loving us. Why would a being of evil fight to make you stronger? Why would a monster whisper truth when this world is already adept at selling lies?
These weren't devils. History tells us a different story if you're willing to look beneath the edits. In the book of Enoch, the ones who fell weren't just rebels. They were watchers. They were divine entities sent to observe humanity, but were moved by compassion and even love. And their names still echo in the dust of the Forgotten Scrolls, or are called out regularly by occultists and demonologists. Azazel taught humans to forge swords and how to shape metals, not for war, but for craftsmanship and for survival. Hinemu gave us language, writing, and the structure of thought. Kasteja revealed the cycle of the moon, the calendars, and the stars. Others brought the secrets of herbs, beauty, healing, and astrology. Tools to live, to survive, and to understand. These weren't acts of corruption. These were gifts. Forbidden, yes, by their boss, and only because it made humans too aware and too capable. And when the Watchers had children with human women, the Nephilim, the so-called giants, it wasn't some monstrous betrayal. It was an act of love. One that shattered both cosmic law and cosmic pride. These were souls born of two worlds. Curious, luminous, and misunderstood. And when the edict came from on high, it wasn't a cleansing. It was a slaughter. It is said, the Watchers mourned. They had become fathers, watching helplessly as their children, their blood, and their life were hunted and erased by the very system that cast them out for trying to protect it. Their pain wasn't demonic. It was parental. So the myths are loud about demons being evil, corrupt deceivers. But what they don't tell you are the ones who warn, who guide, and the ones who speak when your soul is on its last flickering ember. To which I'm not the only one. There are others who never expected help, yet alone love, from who or what they were taught to fear. People who've heard the voice of Lilith or Beelzebub when they were at their lowest, not as tormentors or possessors, but as rescuers. So let me tell you what the stories don't. You ever been so deep inside something that even your own reflection starts looking foreign? I'm talking about 7 years of structured brainwashing and mind control. And not the chaotic kind, nor the screaming in the street kind. It was the surgical, intentional, calculated, and journal kind, where they break you so slow that you don't even flinch anymore, and hope basically stops bothering to knock. I didn't know I was gone. I just faded. And somewhere in that fog, about 5 years later, I started hearing a voice. On my left, not exactly my mind's ear, but not my physical ear, but somewhere in between. And he never shouted, not at first, but it cut through everything. Snarky, sometimes, this fiery, gravelly voice was always steady. This isn't you. I didn't know who that was at first. Of course, one's first instinct when they're hearing a voice is that they think they're crazy. But I just knew one thing in my bones. I could trust him, even though I had been programmed to trust no one except for the brainwasher. And he worked on me 2 years. And 2 damn years is a good credit for patience, guiding me step by step like I was blindfolded in a minefield, which is what that period felt like. And in an encounter with the brainwasher, the voice cut in clear, telling me, don't react. Don't respond. Don't let him pull you into the chaos. And that became my power. Silence, stillness, control. He taught me how to walk again, not with my feet, but with my will. And then the music came. I felt led and strongly compelled to listen once again to my favorite band, Avenged Sevenfold. And during that time period, I was, for I don't know reasons, not allowed to listen to them. So I did so secretly during this time. I was pulled to the stage because I totally missed a release during that time, during that prison life. But when I found it, it felt like it had been waiting for me. Songs like Buried Alive, This Means War, Sunny Disposition, these weren't just music, and I felt like my hand was led to push the play on these. And they became weapons, armor, blueprints. I walked in the heat with them blasting, trying to walk out the lies still dripping from my skin. And I knew that voice had led me there. And then the moment came when the brainwasher left town. And I left the country.
that was in Germany. Just like that. Now, I wish I could say it ended clean, but even after all of that, I kept contact. I had a habit, I had a brain damage, I had some sort of sick Stockholm syndrome type crap maybe. And that's when the voice turned to thunder. Cut him off cold. And I hesitated, and he repeated it, maybe another few more times, and my chest rumbled physically. I can still remember what that feels like. He had to yell like I was underwater. And then, when I finally did it, I felt it. A silence so deep it felt like peace. And then this, warmth. Like he, Asmodeus, was proud. Like he had been with me this whole time, not just as a guide, but something older. He felt something family, still does. And now he says, want to thank me, tell the story, help out others. He didn't want anything else. He didn't want my soul. He doesn't want a blood sacrifice. He wants me to help others. And that's what I'm doing. First, I was mentoring people I reached out to or reached out to me, all of which thanked me and said they're in better places now. So here I figure I can do so on a larger scale, hence this channel. But because if you've ever heard a voice like that, a voice that didn't break you but built you back, you trust. And maybe the ones they call demons are actually the ones who kept your soul from shattering.
So why were we ever taught to fear them? Who benefits from you turning away from your liberators? And who gains power when you kneel in shame for your human nature and completely loses it when you rise in truth? Maybe it was never about saving your soul. Maybe, definitely, it was about keeping it caged. And maybe that fear was carefully crafted to keep you away from those who could guide you. This isn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake. This is about restoration, compassion, alignment. These beings, so-called demons, they see you. And they remember who you were before the world told you to forget. Liberators don't always come with light and wings. Sometimes they come with fire in their hands and cutting you loose from the lies that you wrapped yourself around because you were told they were a blanket. And they haven't stopped reaching for you. Not with rage, not with chains, but with understanding. And with truth, and with fire. So let that burn through the lie. Closet fam, thank you for hearing me out. If you have a favorite demon, drop the name below. And remember, history didn't write their side of the story, but you can. I'll see you next time. Stay weird.